we could probably talk about the forum.
Yeah.
Because that at least was in English.
Hello and welcome to this live streaming at the 8th Beijing International Film Festival. I'm Shen Li.
And I'm Josh McNally.
We're here at the press conference where the Beijing Municipal Bureau of Radio, Film and Television announces new policies to facilitate the filmmakers in creating quality films. So one of the things that they mentioned is about facilitating funds for the filmmakers, and that's really relieve a lot of pressure for the young filmmakers. So
yeah, I mean, getting money to filmmakers is probably the most important thing that can be done. I know in the UK we have a lot of funds from companies like Film 4 and the BFI who offer at least tax breaks to developers and to producers and directors in order to get things made, and that's done a lot to help local film industries. For example, I'm from Liverpool, the Harry Potter films got filmed there, and that's because of tax breaks that let them use the local facilities. So if they can get that done in Beijing, that can definitely boost the local movie economy.
Yeah, and some of the successful examples I've mentioned is the recent hit Operation Red Sea and also Wolf Warrior 2. They've got big support from local government as well as the Beijing Bank. So, have you seen both of?
Unfortunately, I haven't seen Operation Red Sea yet, but I saw Wolf Warrior 2. That film was such a big success here that it got a release in the UK. And it was the last film I saw before I came to China. And while I was in the UK, it did very well. So if they can get more films like that, that will definitely enhance the Chinese film industry, because up until then, the Chinese films I'd seen were films like Drug War by Johnny To, which came out in like an art house cinema. It was a very low-key event. This was pretty much, I wouldn't go as far as saying a blockbuster, but it was alongside those in a multiplex, and I have never seen that before from a Chinese film. So if that came about from this kind of fund, I'm sure it can happen again in the future.
Yeah, so you mean in the past there's pretty much art films that get released overseas? Even
if they're not art films, more, you know, something here that's very big, you know, an action film perhaps with like Jackie Chan, something like that. It may not have the crossover appeal that, for example, a film coming this way like a Black Panther might have. So it only gets a small release, art house cinemas, an occasional screening here and there, which, you know, a film like Wolf Warrior 2 did the total opposite, and that can probably be developed further.
Yeah, and another important aspect of this press conference is that the local government are going to provide support for the cultural and creative industry. And one of the major problem the startup companies faced is, you know, when they don't have or because the funding process, the financing process takes forever.
Yeah.
So even when they started shooting, they don't have the fund in place. So they've actually cooperated with the Beijing Bank. They're gonna create a green, like a green pass for the companies.
Right.
Yeah, and just cut down the text, the prime text.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, that's one thing that a lot of people don't seem to understand about films, is that the financing has to be a continual process. There's a lot of times that I've heard of where a film has been made and shot, and they lack the funds to do the post-processing, to do the editing. So anything that can keep funds continuous will be a great help.
Yeah. So long as the fund keeps coming in, the filmmakers just have to keep the camera rolling and without worrying about anything else.
Precisely, and that's, you know, money is the issue. They always say, I mean, time is money is what they say, but in the film industry that's legitimate. Money means more time to do more takes, you can take more time to develop ideas, and obviously when you get more takes, you get a better product in the end, and that will be seen on screens.
Yeah, and you know, one of the Chinese filmmakers, he's an animator named Liu Jian, and he created this animation feature called Have a Nice Day, and it got screened at this year's Berlin Film Festival, and it was the only Chinese animation feature that got screened there. But the amazing thing is that he did pretty much the entire process by himself. He was the animator, he's the director, he's the editor. So well, I think it just shows that in the past you have to like shoulder all the responsibility and everything.
That's the thing. That's one of those projects I've heard of it, and there has been a lot of praise put on it, and I'm sure rightfully so. But you can imagine what he could have achieved if he had a bigger team, if he had more money. So that seems like it will help in the future.
Yeah, and that kind of exposure, how get screened at the Berlin Film Festival can just cause for more help and more support.
Yeah, I mean that is the thing with like world cinema, particularly Chinese cinema, is that it needs to reach the audience. If it doesn't get out there, no one's going to go and look for it because they have so many other options. So if these funds can help films get screens, not just at Berlin, but perhaps end up on, say, a Netflix service or somewhere that a wide audience can get to, that will obviously come back here and translate into a larger film market.
Yeah, and also, for the finance institute, it also benefits them as well. Because if they've supported this company and they've grown and they've grown bigger, so they have like a secure future. So they don't have to worry about bad loan or.
Does that mean as in like it becomes a new revenue stream for the company?
So I think the policy really works both ways, benefits both parties. And funny you mentioned the BFI, the British Film Institute, and they were at Monday's co-production forum. So I've talked to one of the members, and he helped bring Loving Vincent.
Oh yeah,
to China.
Vincent Van Gogh.
So have you seen it?
Not yet, unfortunately.
Well, because it's a big hit in China, and I think it got released pretty early, compared to other foreign films.
Yeah, that's the thing which does seem to be slowly happening. I saw recently that Jumanji was such a big hit here that they got Rampage, the next film with Dwayne Johnson, a same-day release as with the rest of the world. And there's so much lag often between the two markets. A film will come out here, it'll get to the UK months later, vice versa. The fact that you can get a film like Rampage out on the same day, I mean obviously that's a much bigger film than Loving Vincent, but still it shows just how important the Chinese market is to cinema as a whole.
Yeah, and I think that's what this film festival has trying to do, bringing an international lineup of people here, to make deals and to communicate and to collaborate.
Yeah, I mean in the co-production forum on Monday, you had Fedor Bondarchuk, you had Rennie Harlin, you had Rob Minkoff. I mean, the fact that you have a Russian guy and the guy from Finland, even though obviously they've made a lot of things in America, it at least says that China's important to everyone, not just, the American market. The Russian films that make money here, there's German films that make money here that quite often probably couldn't have made money had they gone to America, which suggests that this market, as it grows in China, it's becoming more open. We had, what was the name of the Secret Superstar? The film that came here. As far as I know, that didn't even get a release in America and a very small release in the UK, but it made a lot of money here. So that just shows that these co-productions can help both ways, both sides.
Yeah, and about Secret Superstar, because this film was released, I think only 2 or 3 months after it was released in India, so it's really quick. Compared to Dango, that took much longer to be released in China.
Exactly. I mean, again, that just goes back to what I was saying about Rampage. Seems to be a trend. It's opening up, and it's very exciting for businesses, very exciting for filmmakers.
Yeah, and also cinema also plays a big part in this, because you have to have enough screens and cinemas for people to enjoy this film magic. And the policy also mentioned that they're going to build more cinemas in Beijing and also around in surrounding areas. So, you know, allowing more people to enjoy this.
I mean, it seems like it could be necessary. In the UK, a lot of times the cinema will be full on a Friday and a Saturday, but the rest of the time it's pretty empty. From my time here, it's been pretty full all the time. So it's pretty much necessary to keep expanding because people are getting there and screens are sold out.
And one of the situations China is facing, because for people who live in rural areas, they don't have that kind of access like people living in big metropolis. So the government is proposing, you know, offering free screenings for people living in that area, so they can, you know, enjoy it like everybody else.
I think that's quite important because, again, going back to the UK, ticket prices have been increasing so much that it's turned a lot of people away. That's why streaming services are so popular. With the streaming services, they don't always offer new films, whereas with a service like that, getting out to rural areas, it keeps things current, it keeps things contemporary, and it allows everyone to get involved.
Yeah, and I think for film and the cultural creative industry to work, it needs financial support and technological support as well. So as you mentioned, maybe the streaming services online may play a bigger part in
I can see that happening, particularly in a society like China where everyone has a smartphone, everyone's on 4G, you get on the subway, people are watching shows all the time. I wouldn't be surprised if that does become a major part of the film industry in the future.
And is there any particular event that you look forward to during this year's Beijing Film Festival?
I've been quite interested in the retrospectives, mainly because it's films that I've loved before but never had a chance to see on the big screen. For example, they're showing Chungking Express and Fallen Angels, the Wong Kar Wai films from the mid-90s.
A lineup of Wong Kar Wai.
Yeah, exactly. It's stuff that like I've enjoyed for years, but you know, it's always been on the small screen. It's always been on like DVDs, VHS, pretty low quality. Seeing them on like the big screen with the full audience, the full audio, it almost changes the film. You see it in a different light, and that kind of thing is quite exciting. I think in general there needs to be more retrospectives, and festivals like this can help that take off.
Yeah, and one of the things that Wong Kar Wai said during the opening ceremony is that, because he's the jury president for this year's Tiantan Award, and he said what he looks for in film is the dedication of the filmmakers. And he mentioned that the other day when he was drinking soy milk at one of the food shop, and there's this tiny words at the bottom of the cup that says, "I will grind soy milk all my life for you." Like this kind of dedication, what he's looking for is that kind of, you know, you do what you know and you make it perfect.
Yeah, and he's one of those guys. He spends a long time developing his films, and that's why they're so good. And I mean, to tie that back to what we've just heard, he does that because he gets the finance. He does that because people let him take the time. And, you know, if you can cultivate more people like Wong Kar Wai, you know, your industry is going to bloom because everyone loves his films, and you know, that's what people want to see. Yeah,
so probably the next Wong Kar Wai may benefit from the policies that has been announced here.
Absolutely, they seem like the kind of policies that would help a filmmaker of that type.
Yeah. Okay, so that brings us to the end of this live streaming. I'm Shenli reporting for CGTN of China Media Group in Beijing.
And I'm Josh McNally.
Okay.